I'm a bad Hearthstone video producer. I didn't even show off the deck list last time. What's the point? There's this one. That was the last video. There's all sorts of little tweaks you can do to this. I'm running a tiny bit more control-y version. There are decks that'll just go a lot more low-end with this. To me, I kind of like hedging the gap a bit, so that's why this has a Gore Howl. Not a ton of these decks run this as far as I know. But some of them also go higher up on the curve. Some of them can run 2 Tar Lords, which becomes a 5/11 on your opponent's turn. Some of them aren't running Grommash, but I crafted one and I want to use it. Plus, I mean, I have some plays. The traditional stuff like this plus Whirlwind still gives us 10 damage to close out a game, so I mean, you know, there's some options. But a lot of the middle part of this deck, like the mid-range, is pretty consistent. Tar Creepers are super good, especially against aggro, because it slows them down. Having to attack into a 3/5 is tough. Bloodhood Brave is just solid overall. Good stats even without the enrage, but this is another one that's kind of iffy. So I'm missing a couple of cards here. I only have 1 second-rate Bruiser. I only have the 1 Tar Lord. I only have 1 Alley Armor Smith. And as a result, I'm running Ascension just because it gives me another 4-drop. It's solid, if not spectacular. And then there's some other weird stuff. So like Ravaging Ghouls in here primarily just as another activator, as like a Whirlwind-esque thing. It clears out low-end stuff. Gives us some fun options. It works with Execute, you know. Solid 3/3. Beyond that, it's kind of just regular stuff you'd expect. Slam gives me the option to either kill minions or draw. And again, you can package some of these things together. So yeah. Today we're going to run a deck that works great at rank 20, which is where I hover. Intentionally. But it certainly doesn't really have that many results on the high end so far. And that's Disco Lock. With its quest, Lakari Sacrifice. So discard 6 cards sounds terrible, but there are a couple of things that were added in this particular expansion that make it easier. Specifically, the big one is this one, Lakari Fellhound. 3/8 for 4. Discard 2 random cards. Now the problem with this, of course, is discarding cards leaves your hand empty. We're a Warlock, so we have ways to draw, including just our hero power, but also stuff like Mortal Coil. But even so, the reason this deck is struggling at the high end is because it just does not have the right amount of answers for when it runs out of cards, because the problem is twofold. You don't have cards to play, and you also don't have cards to discard. So getting a good early draw is very important. Beyond that, we have other discarding things. We have this to try and help us keep our hand full, and this is a good 1-drop. We're running 1 Mistress of Mixtures because we're trying to make sure we live long enough to get to the quest. This also lets us hero power more aggressively in the beginning if we need to, or we can also play Flame Imps and then get the health back. Soulfire still discards a card. Would have been nice if this was still 0 mana, but alas. The big new thing is here. Clutch Mother's Avis. 2 mana, 2/2. And whenever it's discarded, it gets +2/+2 and comes back to your hand, so you can kind of avoid having to pay the cost for that kind of stuff when you do that. Darkshire Librarian's a 3/2 for 2. You get to draw a card when it dies, and you can discard a random card at random when it play it. Succubus, discard a random card. This dude's just too good. We're not even running full-on Zoo. We have a bunch of low drops, but it's just too solid not to. One of these is just basically here for consistency, and because I don't have all the cards I want to run in this deck. The Silverware Golem, another thing that we try and discard on purpose, so at least we get to swarm the board a little quicker. That's a word. 1 Blast Crystal Potion, just because it lets us get rid of something that's particularly annoying that we have no answer for. A Defender of Argus, because we're planning on having a board presence pretty often. Doom Guards, also because of the discard. This is something I'm playing with, and I don't know how much I love it. The problem is, like, it's great when it pulls a Doom Guard or something. It's less great when it pulls Malkazar's Imp or something else that got tossed that you didn't really want. And then we have a couple of cards just for removal because we're, again, sort of running mid-range here. These quest decks are weird. You can't really run them in aggro per se. If you want to run this deck in particular as aggro, then you might as well just play Zoo. You can also try and play it control, but that's kind of weird. So I've had the most success so far with mid-range quest decks. When the quest comes out, you basically get a portal that shows up, can't be targeted, can't be removed in any way. It just sits on your field. It does take up a minion slot, 1 of your 7. And at the end of every turn, your turn, it shows up, and it's just like, here, you want to have a 3/2? How about 2 3/2 imps? So every turn, you basically keep popping out new threats. The other concern is it's tough to do. 6 is an awful lot. And by the time you can activate this, sometimes you're already winning anyways, because you've flooded the board and you've used good discards to get out Silverware Golems, to keep cycling through your cards, getting your hand back to full strength with Malchezaar's Imp, or you're already 2 behind and 3/2s every turn don't help you, but at rank 20, it works okay. From 5 to Legend, I mean, decks have made Legend like this. It's not like it's impossible. It's just not great by any means. But we'll see how it goes.
Gul'dan versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be mine. I am your nightmare.
I'm going to toss both of these. It's tempting to keep the Silverware Golem, but don't think so. Okay. So this is very different than the Warrior deck. Now, in this case, we have no other turn 1 play, so we're going to go ahead and play this. There are times with this deck that you do not play the quest turn 1. If you want to get board presence early, you want to play a Flame Imp, you want to play the 2/2 that heals when it dies. You're not discarding a card turn 1 anyway, so there's no reason just to activate the quest. You just play it before you want to actually start doing that. But these are the sort of decisions that end up making this deck interesting, but also weird. That does actually help our decision-making process a little bit. And that changes it yet again. Alright, so we're going to actually Mortal Coil. And play the Flame Imp. There are some situations where we would have wanted a Succubus there. If he hadn't coined out the Flame Imp, we would have thought about it. As it is, the Flame Imp would have just traded with it, so that's bad. We also still would have thought about it if we had a handful of cards that we didn't care about discarding. If we had the Silverware Golem and Clutchmaster Zevis. Clutch Mother. I like to call it Clutchmaster. Don't ask me why. Then we would consider it, but in this case...
The truth is in here.
Could be worse. Little awkward that turn. No real good mana play. Could have tapped, but then we're not threatening the board at all. That seems wrong. This is the problem you can see already, though. We're kind of running into where we only have 2 cards in hand. Haven't really had the luxury of tapping yet. We need a lower end to our starting hand here to be able to do that. So we have 2 cards. We'll be able to draw one eventually when our 3/2 dies. I'm good with the trade. I can't trade with yours, so I kind of prefer it. Throw that 3/2 into him. I do still technically have a trade I can do here if I want to, and I think I do.
My shield for Argus.
I just like the way this develops the board better. We have a combination we don't mind in our hand. So play the Succubus, discard the Golem. But on that turn, if we play the Succubus and we discard Defender of Argus, we can't play the Golem. We can life tap, we still have 2 mana, but then we just feel silly. The Flame Imp still trades with the Succubus, and then we look very dumb. And sad. Okay. Adapting twice. Let's see if we can find something that gives it health. Okay. Oh, Wind Fury. So we're just going to trade with 3/2 then, to make sure we can't just kill it right away, because that would make him feel very silly.
I'm almost out of time.
They really want us to discard 2 cards, don't they? Well, now that we've drawn both of those, it kind of changes our play a little bit. So I think we don't have much of a choice but to play one. Please discard the Silverware Golem. Fantastic.
Into the breach.
We're going to trade there since it has Wind Fury. We don't want to just be able to run into that twice and kill it. That's our hope. This is the other problem with this deck, is that the discards are random, so sometimes you're going to run into spots where it just goes poorly. There we had a 1 in 3 and a 50-50 chance, which puts us at about 2/3 of summoning the Silverware Golem, and instead something took a dump on our chest.
Why do you call?
The light protects me.
Bunch of dudes. Where are we at here? 3? Yeah. So you can see why this is a problem. Well, I can't target it. Well, I forgot, so instead we'll do this. So our deck has completely stalled, our momentum is gone. Just this big beefy taunt is standing between us and certain annihilation.
Out of my jungle!
Hey, we can kill that.
Out of my jungle!
Oh my god, he's in the vortex. He's in the loop. We can't kill both of them now either, so that sucks. Our 3 attack minions. I'm going to struggle with that 1/4, which is why it's interesting. I mean, its stat line isn't threatening. It's not going to swing the board in your favor, but it's great for stalling. I think we're going to do it. We need the discards. We can use this to keep the board at least a little bit more in our favor. We can then life tap after. Okay. This isn't ideal or anything, but it helps. Now we're only 1 away from getting the quest at least. I haven't really shown that off. I looked at it briefly when I was looking at the number, but there you go. Permanent portal, summon 3/2 imps. 2 of them. That 0/3 is just waiting to be activated. This is another card that we could consider running in Taunt Warrior if we were really worried about aggro, but don't know that it's consistent enough. This is pretty good. We don't mind discarding the Flame Imp.
In here.
And rather than life tapping, we want to get this going immediately. We also don't mind clearing off some space on our board. Because we need to make room for at least 1 more minion, because there they are. The 3/2s have arrived.
You call that
Okay. Had a feeling that had to happen sometime, and there he is. Thing about that is, though, that 5/5 we can just trade with our 2 3/2s if we want to. He played that in the wrong order. Let's tap first. That's a nice draw. I did the wrong one. That's fine though. This is now a 4/4. So already it's just good value for 2 mana, but it's a little gross, but nothing we can't deal with. So I think we start here.
You're in
Get the free activator. Then we're going to ram everything into this. We got to make space again. Let's see what we draw. Okay, I'm going to tap. Okay. So now with the damage on board, we're representing lethal.
Let the to me.
Why is he doing that?
Why do you call?
Rank 20, I guess, right? It's ultimately not going to matter because we're just going to do this and go to the face. If I could click, we would go to the face. I'm not trying to BM, I promise. I just can't click. My mouse is a little funky right now. Well, I don't know that we would have survived against another type of, you know, a little bit higher end deck and or player there. Even though those were small mistakes that were made. Whoop, wrong thing. Let's buy a pack on stream. We got lucky that we were able to kind of stabilize when we did. And I don't think that would have been the case against a slightly stronger deck. But, you know, this is why we sit down at rank 20. Of course, I've realized the error of this. The thought, of course, was always like, well, I'll hover down at the lower ranks until I can get more cards. And that way I'll feel like I can compete at the higher level. Because I don't want to ram myself into rank 5 decks that are, you know, completely filled out. Or at the start of the month when everybody drops down in rank and then it's a dumpster fire. But the problem with that is I'm never going to catch up because by the time I can, because I'm free to play, LOL, there's a new expansion, there's a new adventure, there's something else that comes out. I like this card. I have 2 of them now. Something else comes out that then you go, well, there's a whole bunch of new cards out. Like, I don't have all the quests. I have 2, maybe 3. Did I get a 3rd one? I don't remember. Let's do one more. Like, all the legendaries in this set, and there's more than usual because of the or whatever it is. So I'm never going to catch up. It's impossible. I don't play the game enough. I'm not going to pay enough money. I've spent a little bit of money on this game, but mostly for adventures because those had guaranteed legendaries. And since they're moving away from that model, that's not going to happen anymore. So the point is, I don't really have a reason to sit down here anymore, but then again, I also have a reason to stay down here forever. It's annoying. This isn't bad. So this is one of those examples. We could play the quest turn 1, but why on earth would we do that? That's a little bit gross because now he could do the whole, like, give it +2/+2 thing, but even then, we can Soulfire next turn. In fact, we can do a lot next turn. So we're going to play this and see if he tries to kill it or not. With the coin, we actually have quite a few options for next turn.
Beetleberries, my favorite.
Is this a beast? No. Okay. Well, we're just going to go nuts here. What do you say?
You are not the boss of me.
Not bad. Would have liked to have keep Soulfire, obviously, but that's okay. Just because of the card loop here. It's almost too much drawing, but we'll take that compared to the alternative where we have no cards. I would assume he wants to kill one of these to stop us from going nuts like we just did. Okay. Opens up some further possibilities here. We're going to go ahead and do this first. Alright, well, let's see what happens. Perfect. Well, we got unlucky last time, discarding the 2 that weren't the Silverware Golem, so we'll take getting luckier this time. That's luck for you. It balances out in the end, and then you're dead. Notice, though, despite all of our early posturing, we still only have 2 of the 6 done on this. Our biggest sources are the 3/8 with taunt and the 5/7 with charge. Like, that's just the way it is. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do. Then we're going to tap first. Okay, so that kind of informs us a little bit about next turn. Take ourselves down to 20 and torpedo our own health. still, by getting these out of our hand, we have a couple of attractive targets if we want to play this next turn. Silverware's in our hand. The Clutch Master. Clutch Mother's Office is in our hand. I did not expect to see Starfall, I'll be honest. I thought, how is he going to be able to clear these off? And he didn't in full, but still. Color me surprised. This seems too good not to, even if it tosses the Twisted Nether. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, we knew at least one of those was going to be good.
Truth is my shield.
We don't have a phenomenal answer for that. I think we want to tap here. Of course, if we get Siphon Soul now, it's too late. Do I just chuck everything at this? I feel like I almost kind of have to. It's a little gross, but... I don't think I like the alternative. But once again, like, doing this in this way has set us up with a hand now where, depending on what we draw, we have good discard targets here.
The jungle provides.
Form of dragon.
Good play. Okay. So if that's the case, we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
The truth is in here.
Okay, right back to the hand. And I think we're going to tap. That's a good one. So if that's the case, we're just going to do this. Alright, that works out pretty well. And you can see, like, synergistically, this deck has times when it clicks and things work well when you're cycling through and you're building on the quest and you have just enough cards in your hand to keep going. But even with the extra card draw we had in the beginning and some other stuff, we're still looking at a situation where we have 3 cards. We're about to discard 2. We're going to draw 1. We can draw 1 off of this, I suppose, but it just gets complicated. I don't think we want to play that first. I guess technically we could because we could activate the quest. So I guess maybe we will do that. Just to double check this. Is it 5? Yeah. Wouldn't mind having the taunt up though.
I wonder.
Nah.
The truth is in here.
Let's get it going. That's not the best outcome, but that's okay. We got lucky earlier. Can't complain now. Just need to get this moving, I think. And we're actually going to go ahead and trade. Just because. Oh, I could have played that. I played too quickly. Oh, you hate to see that type of thing happen. Actually had a fun play a couple days ago where I was low on health. I was against one of those pirate warriors that are such a pain in the ass still, although they're not quite as good as they were before. That's a little bit of a weird play to me, but okay. And so I brought this guy out. I didn't have a way to kill it. He didn't have anything on the board. He had a weapon out that was threatening to kill me. But it wasn't enough to have lethal on its own, but I still managed to, like, I think I soul fired this or something to kill it on purpose, and it gave me just enough health to survive his next turn. Felt pretty good. We are in a little bit of danger here. So I think we're going to go ahead and do the play that makes the most sense, which is this, and this, and then this,
A paltry task.
and then this.
Find it.
Now, we're not going to summon, and we're not going to life tap. Reason being, we're going to get 2 more 3/2s off of this. We don't want to life tap because we're already at 10, which is a little perilous, although it's tough to see how a druid is going to kill us from that range. This is an 8/8, though, so that's pretty cool. That is absolutely the wrong decision. I'm going to trade with that the exact same way I would have if it was a 3/4 with Divine Shield and Taunt. Giving it more health would have made me throw a little bit more of my board at it, so that's just objectively wrong.
I'll find it.
Okay, we're going to summon that now.
Dares a paltry
This might sting.
a paltry task.
And now, I'm just going to go ahead and play this out because it's a 10-10. Yeah, it blocks one of our imps, but that's okay. We wouldn't do this in certain matchups, like against a Warlock, if we were somehow baiting, I don't know. We're basically screaming like, hey, make Twisted Nether happen. We wouldn't play that. That would be terrible.
I hear you
but
got a problem.
that's the stealth noise, but it really just sounds like a disappointed noise. And he's just playing cards for funsies now.
I concede.
So yeah, I mean, this deck is not bad by any means. I don't mean to like poo-poo it when I talk about how it doesn't have the potential at the high end. It's just, I think it's too inconsistent because it has a hard time keeping enough cards in hand to begin with. And if your discards are bad, then things can go south really quickly. If they're good, then everything gels and it's fine. And for the most part, that was a good one, the discards there. We had one bad one. But we also saw a couple spots where we discarded things that we really needed and things that didn't help further the quest, and it created problems. Tomorrow we'll look at what Dragon Priest has to offer. It's not all that different other than the fact that its low end is a little bit slower. But yeah, we'll play Dragon Priest for a couple games tomorrow.